Okay, so I grew up in Cairns, far north Queensland, and when I was 19, I decided to move to Canberra to study at the ANU, at the Canberra School of Art, and moved to Sydney, and I've been, basically full-time a practicing artist since leaving art school.
And I understand that you're a really good sportsman when you were younger as well. So what kind of drove you to start making art?
I was too short to play basketball, so basically that's it. I knew I wasn't going to play in the NBA, so
Right.
yeah.
That's great. And you're quite well known for some of your earlier bodies of work which reference colonialism, particularly here in Australia. Can you talk a little bit about those projects and why you work on that sort of project?
Yeah, so basically it was about history in Australia, and it was looking at icons of our colonial history, and I was really interested in the importance placed on these icons, and trying to understand them from an Aboriginal perspective. It's kind of what I was setting out to do, but it was about presenting a different view on our history. And the first work was a portrait of Captain Cook that I appropriated, and I added a patch and a parrot to his shoulder. And instead of Captain Cook, he became Captain No Beard. So this idea of piracy and our colonial history, and presenting an alternate view of these images that mean so much to Australia as a country.
Why was it important to you to make those sort of images and those sort of works?
Well, I guess I was just trying to create a dialogue about these images, which are very important to our national identity and the construction of our Australia. So it was just playing with those images, readjusting the what they mean to people, and adding something so that people engage with them on a different level as well. So,
and I guess about 4 or so years ago, you had quite a dramatic change in style, I guess, to doing these paintings which utilize dots, and a lot of people know a lot about Aboriginal artists using dots in specific ways, but you've kind of used them in a very different way in your paintings. Can you talk a little bit about the idea behind these paintings? So
the dot, it was process driven, so it was about trying to create a surface that would only allow a certain amount of information to be read from the image, and the dot was it just came out of the process. It didn't have any connection to the Western Desert art, and it was about it was kind of about trying to create a lens. So it was about seeing an image and looking at it from multiple kind of perspectives. So it was looking at these images and ideas through all of these multiple lenses. So it's about that idea of the lens and different people's kind of reading of an idea or history or an object or, yeah, so.
Sure. So with the idea of kind of using that lens, you've kind of abstracted areas of the painting as well. What's the kind of reason for kind of revealing parts and taking away other parts of that information?
So I think the video installation is kind of, well, it's basically about dark matter, the video installation behind, and I'm kind of using that as a metaphor for the dark space within in the paintings. It's kind of about the our memory of an event or a situation, an object like the one behind here. So it's acknowledging that our memory of an event or an idea or a story is we kind of lose that over our lifetime. Like, for example, this conversation, it's just about that process of losing memory of something, and it's also about trying to comprehend like the birth of the universe, and it's kind of about trying to comprehend our future as well. So it's like understanding things through that.
And if we can talk a little bit about the painting of Grace Jones, because it's such a fantastic painting and has multiple kind of art world references, being the photograph of the performance of the body painting, but the kind of loss of information in there. What does that sort of stand for?
So I was interested in being an artist. We inherit kind of modernism. It's a part of our language, and this photograph was by Robert Mapplethorpe, and that's Grace Jones, and Keith Haring. He did the body painting for Grace Jones. So I was interested in those, the collaboration between these artists, and but I was more interested in the idea of neo-primitivism and how we still engage with that, and it's kind of about that idea of the primitive kind of being defunct. It's like challenging that and trying to understand that idea of the neo-primitive.
And you've also talked before about had the show recently at the University of New South Wales with about the transit of Venus and the ideas of exploration, and also relating back to that video. Could you elaborate a little bit about that idea of exploration?
Yeah, so it was, I was kind of thinking about navigation and observation, and trying to map our universe, trying to map out our solar system. So using the transit to work out how far we were from the sun. Last year I was artist in residence at the Natural History Museum in London, so I'd been engaging with science and art, that crossover, and the show at Sydney University was with the Macleay Museum, which is the Natural Sciences Museum, and while I was at while I was in London, I came across this. Actually, before I went to London, I started this painting, but I saw the actual navigational chart. So it's a navigational chart from the Marshall Islands, and it's kind of about this lost art form, trying to navigate the islands there, looking at the stars, and so it's about that those two different cultures engaging with that, with the stars and looking out, and so that was kind of the, was thinking about ideas, or trying to understand that that time in our history, with the with Cook coming out in the first voyage to document the transit in Tahiti. So it was about it's kind of about the stars and yeah.
It's a really interesting kind of way to create those conversations between different cultures and the way that they look at stars in different ways, but often for the same reasons.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask if there are any questions from the audience as well. I've got a microphone, so I'll run around with it if anybody's got a question. Please don't be shy.
I was just thinking about the dotting and what you said, and all of that makes complete sense. So now I want to kind of ask you about why you stuck to the more or less monochrome palette in the work, which is so different from what happens with the dotting in some other, particularly desert painting.
These works are monochrome. I've made other works that are quite colourful. These ones were. This image was from a photograph, a black and white photograph. So that was the reasoning there. I'm not sure. Yeah, but I think also a lot of people have this visual language. They straight away associate it with me being Aboriginal. They associate it with other dot works. And I think it relates more to pointillism and in the way that they come together to create a whole image. Yeah. So the lens.
So this is a similar question, I suppose. You said that your work's very process-driven. I'm just wondering what the oil painting, your medium of oil, has to do with with the process.
How does it?
Yeah, why are you painting in oils rather than, say, acrylics, which is a much more normal medium, these days? And I suppose another question. Most people are familiar with your paintings of images, the Captain Cook paintings, which are also oil paintings, and have a very particular sort of process there, which I suppose we associate with more neoclassical and romantic style. So just wondering if you could talk a bit more about your processes and.
Oil painting is very complex, and I really enjoy continually working through that process. Basically it's just my love for the oil painting. It came out of like with the first works. It was about trying to represent the original, trying to get as close as I could to the original works that I had been referencing. So it kind of came out of that, as so it was a way of solidifying ideas, and it was a way for the representation of an individual like Cook. It was kind of about that, the history of painting, oil painting, and particularly during that period, I'd also done works that were of King George the Third, so his official portrait, and he had Alan Ramsey paint them, and Alan Ramsey had a studio in the end, and he had about 60 assistants, and they completed over 300 copies of this image. So it was about using that image to justify his rule, you know, like. So it was. I was interested in that as well. So that idea of the history of oil painting, but particularly that period in the late 18th century. Yeah.
Any other questions from the audience?
Hello, I just wanted you to talk a little bit more about the media work in there and the transition perhaps from working in that medium, or this medium to that medium.
Yeah, so basically it was, the paintings came first, and I wanted to create a moving image version of the painting, so it's kind of like, trying to translate that to moving image, and that's kind of. I did that myself. Yeah.
He's a talented man. I really like the way that the dots are used because it's kind of almost immediately makes a lot of people think about Aboriginal people in dot painting, but it's very much not about that and references something completely else, but it also has ideas that might relate to it in other ways like revelation and secrecy and a lot of those other sort of connotations, but it's kind of just a process. But through it you've kind of taken information away from us. Is there any reason why you've specifically removed our information?
Yeah, so it's about that that idea of memory and like knowledge of our existence in the universe. So it's kind of like about that, and then, but it's also, I found it to be kind of empowering in a way, because I'm presenting something that I create a painting, and then I hide or like you were saying, like conceal some of the surface. But it was about not allowing all of the information to be read from the images. So that was kind of. I think that was the.
So you're sort of the only person that actually knows what that painting looks like in full.
My partner, she knows. Yeah.
So just the in crowd. Yeah. Well, if there are no other questions, I'd like to thank Daniel Boyd very much and ask everybody to thank Daniel for the fantastic talk.